but the park is still flooded, so you'll see kids out there again today.
Some of those kids today will be my co-hosts.
It's just like, dude, you get the best barrels ever, dude. Just like you pull in and you just get spit right out of them. And you just drop in and just smack the lip. Whoop-ah! Drop down, snap, and then after that, you just drop in, just ride the barrel and get pitted, so pitted like that.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. We're just bringing to you another summer update here. We unfortunately do not have a guest. We're looking in the future to have a lot more guests. It's kind of peak season. I've been guiding quite a bit. A lot of us have been pretty busy. You know, we've been on the move a lot, and recording late at night has been pretty tough to come by. So apologies for that, but we will be having some guests here shortly. And tonight we'll just be talking about current conditions, what's been working, a couple trips, and just chopping it up with the MOT crew here. So without further ado, let me introduce the other members here on tonight. We got none other than my brother, Max. Max, how you doing tonight?
Gus, how was Wing Wednesday at the old Nutty?
Nutty Squirrel provided some good wings here tonight. They're tasty per usual. Had an array of probably 7 different sauces and a couple leftovers for lunch tomorrow. Couldn't ask for better wings, to be honest, on a Wednesday.
Nice. Well, guess who's back with us this week? I think he felt like his seat was getting a little hot after Clayton came in last week and just absolutely crushed the guest appearance filling in for this man. But without further ado, let me introduce him. None other than Mr. Brian Eckel. Brian, how's it going tonight? Good to have you back, buddy.
Yeah, it feels
Welcome
good.
back.
Right at home here, back behind the mic, where I'm most comfortable. Was gone for a week with some work stuff to deal with, and now I'm back. And I got a weekend here with Gus coming up. No fishing, boozing, and golfing, and yapping, and all that sort. And then the following weekend, us 3 are getting back on the boat. Been a while for me. Gonna have some rust to shake off, but looking forward to that.
How was the work conference? Hopefully Minneapolis welcomed you back with open arms. It's good to have you. Good to have you back in the city. It's fun to get out and play a little golf with you. I wish we could have gotten on the water, but
yeah, it was good being back. Saw a bunch of the old friends that are still living out there. You know, really got a hero's welcome from the city. It was awesome to see. Big line at Mall of America chanting MOT as I walked in. It was wild. So that was shout out
insane.
Minneapolis. It was good to be back.
It sounds super believable. All right, Gus, give us the rundown here. We've been in Door County for a few days, doing some family stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later on because we did sneak away one morning and do a little bit of fishing that way. But what's been going on prior to the Door County trip? I know you had some guide trips and then you were out on the water again today. So what? Give us the current updates. What's the lowdown in the North Woods?
So prior to this podcast coming out and us going to Door County, I mean, we had like those super mega hot temperatures and a lot of super peak. I don't know. It got to like 88, 90, I think a few days in a row. It got really hot. It was really stagnant. It was really calm. Our water temperatures definitely peaked and hit, 80 degrees. And for sure, some of those small stain systems, we had a few of the larger systems that definitely stayed below that. But we also had some false temperatures because it was so calm. And as soon as the wind kicked up, we would knock back a few degrees. I mean, I even saw it on the water with one of our trips where we were out there and we saw 79 and it was hot and just muggy. And we took lunch and stayed off the water for like an hour, and we got back and the wind kicked up and the water temperature knocked back immediately. Like it knocked back a degree and a half, just kind of mixing that top surface temperature. But the fishing was actually really good. We were getting up, but I was running the trip super early. with that really hot weather, we were starting in like that 5:30 a.m. time frame, and we were getting a very consistent bite in the morning. I was texting with Max and Brian a bunch, like topwater was hot. Topwater was pretty much the one to get bit at least once or twice a day. As long as it was morning, last light, or there was any sort of cloud cover, topwater was always being run, and it seemed like the fish were really following and really eating that actually quite well. There's a few times we were getting some nipping fish at topwater. We did lose a couple, but that was the most consistent for getting bites. And no, the fishing in early August, those first couple days were actually really good. When I was able to get out, there's 2 days that was like pure sun, and like I don't think there's ever any storms coming. I did not have any trips those days, and I just ended up taking those days off and golfed with the family. And I'm very happy I did so because it was even golfing, I was just sweating standing there, and I caught
How'd
up
you
on some
play?
sleep.
How's the game?
The game's looking a little, shaky here and there. If I get the driver going, I mean, it's game over out there. Keeping in play off the
Yeah,
tee has been key. Putting
it
game has
could be
always
that
been there, but chipping game is there
2010
too.
driver.
Yeah, could be the
That thing's engine's
yeah, the
blown.
14-year-old driver that face is dead. It doesn't even have much left or right. I just swing easy and she goes a little bit straight. I lose a lot of yardage compared to you guys, but I'm okay with that.
That's good. I this Talkwater top got me thinking for a bender coming up. We're gonna be doing a lot of
Hmm.
night fishing. I think it was when I caught my PB on top. That was no, that was July.
That was
So
a
a little bit
July
different
new
time
moon,
frame.
and we just coming off the August new moon. We'll be fishing leading up into the August full moon, right? For that bender
Mm-hmm.
weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think topwater should be very much in play. I mean, this is probably the best. August to September got to be the best topwater month, and I was just happy to see how well I was doing in July. I guess I would say I hope it continues to be good because there's nothing better than seeing a fish come up and eat topwater. There's like one time where a fish actually followed for a little bit and then came up and nipped and lost that one. Otherwise, it's either they came to the boat and didn't eat, or if it was out in the cast, they just came up and slurped it down. No follow, just all eat.
Any
So can't ask for better
any
eats
more
than that.
action on the Weagle?
No, I have not been running the Weagle. All of the boated fish have been on prop baits, mostly Lake X, and we've been running a couple creepers and getting no
Ooh.
eats on creepers, but some follows. So that was kind of cool to see. Flaptails I have
You're
not run in a little bit.
Oh, well, that'll change when Brian and I get up there.
Yeah.
Are you throwing that creeper just for fun? Is it still that like really, really old one from
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, the 70s or 80s?
Really, really old. I mean, that thing it's pretty cool. I think it has to be tuned a little bit more because like there's a few casts where I was tossing it out there and I'm like, damn, I got some weeds and it wasn't running right. And then I realized that it just wasn't running right. So I got to tune it up a little bit, but it's got like a little BB in it. It's cool, and it like it shakes left and right. It doesn't just wobble back and forth like it wanders a little bit. It's a sick creeper. I just got to tune it a little bit, I think. And I'm not
Sneaky little
great at
bait.
tuning it those. Yeah, it's a very tiny one. There was one night I was out with Clayton for league, and he had I raised probably a mid 40s at minimum, maybe a little bit bigger on a Lake X. And then we turned away and fished some more, and we went back after it at last light, like the last couple of minutes of the league, because that ends at 9. So unfortunately we couldn't, chase it later unless we felt like, fishing after hours. And unfortunately, but also fortunately, having a fish not count for league. And he raised it again on a creeper, and it seemed a little bit more hot on that, but didn't eat that. His creeper was larger. It was like a jointed one. I'm also not familiar with which that one was. I don't know
Mm.
the manufacturers that make any of these baits that either Clayton or I have, but they're pretty cool.
I love how when I said the one from the 80s and you were like, yeah, it's really, really old. I'm sure there's some people just punching the air right now.
Yeah.
Slamming their
Cuss-
steering wheels or
Cussing
driving
you
north.
out.
Yeah,
Shut up,
really,
Gus.
really old. Sorry, buddy.
Jesus.
Just old
That's
school.
fun.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad the top waters have been hot. That's one of the, if not the most fun way to catch muskies. So I hope that definitely continues for our weekend. But yeah, so it sounds like the bite in the North Woods has stayed pretty good here. Looking forward to getting back out there, especially having Brian in the boat. Always a treat. So maybe we talk a little bit about when we snuck out and did a little bit of fishing in Green Bay. My first time ever being in the Bay, Green Bay, chasing muskies, at least. So that was a really cool experience. We got fortunate enough to go fish with our buddy Kyle Hunsader, who we've had on the podcast a few
Shout
different
out.
times.
Shout
The
out.
creator of the bangers, Hunsy
Muncie
Tails,
Tails.
sweet ass bait. But yeah, he was nice enough, like I said, to take us out, me, Gus, and my dad, and do a little bit of casting on the bay. Unfortunately, we came up empty handed, but honestly, it definitely made me want to go back. One and two, I think I would have felt a little guilty, only fishing for a handful of hours on the bay and sticking a big fish or something like that. I think you got to put in a little bit more time out there to pay your dues, if you will. So I'll definitely be back. I'm excited to get back out there. It was we got roughed up a little bit. I think it would have been a little bit easier trip had we not had to deal with the, I don't know, what would you say, 4 to 5 foot rollers coming down the chute from a pretty heavy
Mhm.
north wind, made
Yep.
northeast wind. So yeah, it was pretty spot on that day. And I have never really fished for muskies in that type of water before. So it definitely had to get the sea legs going a little bit. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, we really had to had to get our sea legs. Those rollers were a bit much, but not like too much. We were still able to fish. I would have to say figure eighting was maybe a little bit on the back burner there. Obviously, if a big
Mm-hmm.
fish kind of flew up, we'd lock in a little bit more, but trying to figure eight when the whole boat was fully rocking back and forth was a little bit of a task. And that was my third time on the bay, and I'm 3 for 3 on it being extremely windy every single time. So I was used to that. That was new to Max, and I looked at him and I'm like, well, welcome to the bay. This is just what it kind of serves up every single time. Apparently,
Do
when I
the
go into town, this is what happens.
do the diehard Green Bay guys that fish it all summer, do they just have big enough boats and just plow on through the waves, or are they kind of picking and choosing days? Are they not always able to fish?
There's definitely we talked to Kyle about this. There's on 100% days that you just cannot fish out there at
Yeah.
all. And they kind of pick and choose their launches based on the wind. Like, they go to certain ones if it's not going to be as bad before these giant rollers pick up because they just kind of accumulate over distance of going down or up the bay, whichever, direction, if it's a south or a north wind, because the bay is kind of at a little bit of an angle. It's mostly, I guess you can kind of say it as a north south, but it's a little bit more angled up to the northeast, southwest. But no, that they all have mainly what you see out there are giant fiberglass boats with windshields, 20, 21, 22-foot boats. That's what you need out there.
He handled it like a G though. I was getting a little nervous running around to spots, and I was just kind of looking over, making sure he didn't seem too concerned. So it's like, when you're in like turbulence on an airplane or something, and you kind of look at the flight attendant, make sure they're not freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Kyle's
you're
standing
in
there.
trouble.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was. Yeah, you're right. Handling it like a G. He had his Crocs on, formal uniform for Green Bay down there. Having his
Yeah, he didn't even have the speed straps on either.
no, he
He's
had
just
a
running them
two-wheel
in low
drive,
gear.
and he's
Normal
like,
day
"That's
for him.
fine. It's fine."
Yeah.
I don't put in
God.
four-wheel until we got 6-footers. So
Yeah. It's nuts.
no, it was a lot of fun. Max did rip into a walleye on a pit bull.
Hey,
Yeah.
Set the
Yeah,
hook like
chase it
15
down like
feet from
10
the
feet
boat.
out.
Or yeah, it
Yeah.
hit close.
was there a nice got one?
Yes, something like that. It was pretty windy, but we all
Yeah.
freaked
It
out for a
wasn't my
second.
usual. It wasn't my usual
Big
freak
fish,
out.
big fish.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I didn't embarrass myself that bad. No,
That's good.
speaking of big fish, did you guys catch that follow scene around the world this week
Oh
on the
yeah,
socials?
unbelievable.
Yeah, that was passed around from Devoted Outdoors up in Laxole. Follow from my God. I mean, we'll discuss it more, but a follow from an absolute giant on a bait of a guy that actually we bought a rod off of our that one St. Croix.
Shout out.
Sam Stone, he makes that topwater walk the dog bait that
Yeah.
what does he say it was? It's 12 inches long with a 4-inch tail, grub tail off
Something
the
like
Yeah.
back.
that.
It was the
Giant.
size of the fish's front tooth.
Yeah, the head on that fish was probably 2 feet long, like just the head of the fish.
Yeah.
I saw her Alex McLean commented like this video will make people want to book a trip there next year, and I'm like, yeah, I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know where I'm going.
It's like
Well,
yeah,
it's kind
I
of
am 100% that guy.
yeah. I mean, when we've discussed Canada together, I mean, obviously Lake of the Woods comes up and Eagle comes up, but we've definitely thought about Lac Seul. I know Brian, you've had your eyes on that just for the fact that it's like the one of the more northernmost areas you can even target these fish, and it's big. I don't think it's mapped out super well.
Yeah, it seems a little
And
bit more untouched from what we've heard, which is cool, intriguing.
yeah, it seems like it's kind of in the ballpark of Eagle, where yeah, you're going to Canada, but also be prepared to get your ass kicked big
Yeah.
time, but
Mm-hmm.
for good reason. You know what you're going after. Whereas Lake of
How
the Woods,
big do
you're
you
like
guys?
you're expecting a lot of fish.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's true. How big do you guys think that fish was? Just a guesstimate.
I mean, I don't want to sound really stupid, but that I know some people are like, that's got to be at least a double nickel. Dude, that's got to be 60,
Yeah. I
61
was gonna
inches
say
long. Like
60 by 40.
It's 40.
40. Okay. Jesus,
That thing was
Brian.
a blimp.
For a summer fish,
math,
it was,
math guy.
I mean, undoubtedly like a 50-pounder for a summer fish, but like just by length, I don't know, man. I gotta say 58, 59, 60, 61. I don't know. Like, what does that sound
I
crazy looking at it?
no, it doesn't. And I just every time I watch it, I'm like, if that was me reeling that bait in, I'd almost be like, get the fuck away from the boat, man. Scare that thing off. I don't want to deal with that.
I don't want
That thing is terrifying, dude.
that would be
Dude.
freaky, dude.
That's pretty pretty opposite of what some people were commenting on like the first video. I was dying. People commenting like, "Oh, you know, if you just would have sped it up a little bit, she would have ate."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you know what a
I love
60-incher
that.
does. Yeah, they all act the same. That was
Like,
so
yeah.
funny.
Dude, that fish is like ridiculous. I can't comprehend that size.
You guys
Oh
sent
my
that video in the chat. I don't know if I was somewhere or whenever. I can't remember which day it came out, but I remember looking at it before I looked at who it was by or where it was or anything. I legitimately thought you were sending a video of a fish from like the South America river,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
100%.
like an
Tame it or
arapaima
whatever.
or something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. Yeah, like a big
I
old
didn't-
taimen following in like a fly on the surface or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, And then when I realized it got closer, I'm like, oh my God, that's a muskie. That's
Even when it got closer, I had to make sure, I had to like when I saw that it came from Devoted Outdoors, I was like, that's when it clicked that it actually was a muskie. Just the way it was acting, like I've never seen a fish like that. Was almost like saltwater esque, where it
Yeah.
was like it was like tracking the bait back and forth, like that. You know, I mean, I've never seen. I've never seen a muskie do that. That
He
was
didn't
wild.
have like a care in the world. You could tell, like, whatever, like, he's the top of the food chain. He'll do what he wants. And then he just
Right.
turns away and like slow-mo swims off. I feel like, I mean, you'd fall to your knees and start crying. He just swam off with a middle finger.
Okay, here's my question to you guys real quick. Do you guys think that that fish follows in any other bait? Like, do you think that another human has laid eyes on that fish before?
No, not up
I
there. I mean, that lake's giant.
no, it looks like it's at least at minimum hasn't been hooked in years, if it ever has been hooked, at all. That was
Mhm.
another thing I was going to bring up is you look at the back of that fish and you think of a giant old muskie as being like a battled war horse getting beat up by rocks and wind and
Right.
spawning and getting hit by other fish and being caught. And that thing looked like it's never seen
Dude,
anything. Like all it did is just grow up and eat a lot.
I love how
And
Brian's just like cracking up watching the video.
I can't believe it. I mean, you could just put a 38-inch muskie in its stomach and it looked like it wouldn't look any different. It's got so much real estate in that thing's gut.
It's absurd. It's a testament as to why people who run cameras, like, you just gotta love that shit,
Yeah.
because you try to tell that story to people, no
Yeah,
one's
they'd be like,
believing
oh,
you.
okay. So it was like maybe 50.
Yeah.
so that's a tail at the end, tail at one side of the boat, head of the other. Is that maybe, can we finally
Right.
say that that's actually what that fish
Yeah, that'd
was?
be that. Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine getting back to camp and being like, yeah, I mean, we had a great day, we caught some fish, but we moved this one that was, 60
60.
inches. Like, people will be like, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Definitely. That's crazy.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah,
The
hit him with
fish
the
actually nips at
old
it in the
faithful.
video. You
It
guys see
moves
Yeah.
that in
with
the
it pretty
vid? Like
quickly.
he snapped, he opens his mouth at one of the quick early on turns. I don't know what you do any different in
I
that
don't know what
scenario.
you do at all because, like, any scenario that I've been with and any fish that is obviously, I can confirm saying multiple feet smaller than this fish. If it's flat, calm, and sunny like that, and you get it on top water up to the boat, or really anything, it seems like you're just almost screwed. Like they're
Yeah.
not gonna, like, you get them that close to the boat, you ran out of real estate if there even was a chance to begin with. So that's just her poking her head out and being a little curious and saying hi.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if you move that fish on any other bait, like throwing that size of a walk the dog bait. I mean, that's the type of lure maybe that fish gets fooled on, or if it happens at a different time of day or under different conditions. But yeah, I mean, like, anyone who was saying that you could have worked it faster, done it differently, I was laughing pretty hard at Sam Stone's comment when he commented back to a guy and was like, well, it's a 12-inch walk the dog bait with like a 4-inch soft tailed drag. Like, pretty hard to move fast. And then in parentheses, like, I made the bait, lol.
So he would know. They would know best.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just don't know what else. I mean, not to mention, like, I'd probably freeze up seeing a fish that size falling. I mean, actually, like, almost guarantee you would freeze up. I mean, you're also working a bait that requires you to, like, pay attention,
Yeah.
obviously, and keep a good rhythm. And
Mhm.
like, when that thing appears behind it, I mean, how the hell do you do that? Your heart rate probably jumps, 100 bips.
Mm.
Sitting at going from like a 70 to 170 in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen a fish that size and it came in on a kinked out
Dude,
bucktail and
stop.
stop.
that
Yeah, it's one of
that
those,
fish
dang,
went
that's
from like
crazy.
that fish went from 48 to 60 in like a matter of 360 days. Just every couple of weeks we'd bring that fish up and All of a sudden it'd be 52, and then the next thing you know it's 54, and then next thing you know it's 58.
65.
Now it's 60 to 65. It's somewhere in that ballpark of an inland Wisconsin fish.
Well, it's been growing. It's been a while since we've seen her.
It has been like 2 years. That is crazy. She might be dead. I hope not.
No. Well,
I bet you she's
I mean-
sitting on a mantle somewhere above somebody's fireplace.
yeah.
You had your
Yeah.
one chance, Brian.
What do you guys think about, like, if you catch that fish? I
Mhm.
don't know what the Canada regulations are, but are you like killing and keeping to mount that thing?
You don't have to do that.
No, you get replicas.
I know,
mean,
but I'm saying, like, with a fish that, like, a 60-inch fish, let's say you're struggling to revive it. I mean,
well, if it dies on me, yeah, I guess I'd probably bring it in for the mount, but like I would try my hardest to release it,
yeah.
to begin with,
Not
obviously.
taking it and getting a skin mount. This isn't like
But-
1975.
But I don't know, dude.
Take
It
a
just
picture
seems
of
like
it.
with nowadays, even if you went through yeah,
I tell you
even
what,
if you did
that fucking thing's wrangling me in the 8 boat side and I hook it. You better grab the shotgun, man.
You're not getting it
Kill that thing.
in. Jesus Christ.
I'm just kidding. Just a
Yeah,
terrifying
yeah.
fish. You just don't know how you'd handle a situation.
I think this is boiling down to is like you're just scared of that muskie. Like you're not taking a
that
dip in, like-
muskie would scare the shit out of me.
You like small muskies. You like
No.
the nice little 3-footers to 40-inchers. You can handle them easily. No, we got the video of your PB, man. You looked a little timid there, so I don't know.
No, that
This
was
fish
just,
is like making you upset with how big it is.
it does. It's very upsetting. The fact that it's so far away and there's probably only 5 of those in the world.
Who
Ridiculous.
knows? Who knows? Yeah, I mean, you catch that fish. I think the question would be if you. I mean, I think Gus, didn't some random person or somebody asked you at like one of the shows if you caught a fish that was like a world record size, would you try to certify it? But it seems like with the regulations that require you to submit an actual world record are pretty crazy. I mean, you'd have to keep the fish, weigh it on a certified scale on land. Seems like quite the process to go through all that. And I don't know. I mean, you don't want to be the guy that does that and then ends up coming up short.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Killed
would
the
be,
fish and you lost by like, a couple ounces.
that would be pretty horrific.
Good excuse to
Yeah.
try muskie for the first time.
I mean, it's a terrible excuse.
Dude,
You're just on a warpath tonight, aren't you?
God, Brian. We're gonna in our DMs this week. We're gonna get like muskie recipes. We're gonna get hate mail. We're gonna get everything.
muskie recipes.
God,
Black and muskie.
kick him off the tour, Doug.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
nowadays it seems like you would get a lot of just lot of shit for keeping a fish, even if you try and revive it. And like Max said, the world record process seems just ridiculous. So I don't even know if it would be worth it. But
I wouldn't blame anyone though for catching that fish and keeping it for world rec. I mean, I believe it all. That thing looks absurd.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
God, there's
I
always
think
talk
it's
on
to each
like
their
if
own.
it's and there's always talk. It's like, oh, it's that old. It's like, is it even making babies anymore? Is it just like?
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I think
not to
you'd-
dive too deep into
You'd
it.
release it. No, I mean, you'd release it obviously too with the intention of having somebody else, catch it when it's 61 or whatever, just to
Yeah.
see that thing, how long it lives and how big it can get. Or
For
if
sure.
anyone could even catch it again, would just be. I just feel like that's a type of fish that rarely shows its face. I feel like a lot of things have to line up correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah, giant lake, minimal pressure of anybody fishing it. Who knows if it even ends up being in that spot again? You raise it in that spot, does it ever show up there again? Was it there for that one single day? I mean, we even think about this with fish here in our lakes that are a couple hundred acres or 1,000 acres. And now we're talking about many thousand acres to hundreds of thousand acres up there. Totally different ball
That's
game.
good. Many thousand acres. The Canadian measurement of acres of lakes.
Many
Well,
thousand.
it seems like we've asked somebody up there on how big all these lakes there. They're like, I don't know, really big.
Yeah,
No one's got an
large.
exact acreage, or I guess they probably don't even use acres. It's just our the dumb system.
I mean, you look at that lake though, like you look at Lac Seul on like a map, and I mean, there would be enough places to fish for a lifetime up there.
Well, I heard from a guy that goes up and walleye fishes it every year that there's a side of the lake where there's not any muskie or not really any muskie. So like for whatever I don't know if there's like a river inflow or somewhere, but I he said that there's two totally different sides of that lake.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It
Dang.
does sound very complex from what we've heard from different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
wonder
it's
if
so
it's
much water.
same thing for walleyes where you go up there and just think you can go into any landing and just go and catch walleyes. And all of a sudden it's really tough because you're just on the wrong side of the lake. Yeah, that's weird.
That was a lot.
Semi parallels, you can run it to here. I mean, we fished lakes where we see spots on the map, or we fish spots that were like, oh my God, this is awesome, or this area should hold muskies, and then just years later of us fishing that, it's like, okay, we've never seen a fish here, probably for good reason, I guess. And then there's
Mhm.
other spots where we see them every single year, always come back to. But that's like I
Mhm.
said, different animal, different ballpark up there. That's just a lot
Yeah.
untapped, untapped as they say.
One of these days, we'll get up there. Hopefully it'll be next year. I don't know if it'll be Lac Seul or what, Eagle, Lake of the Woods, but it's got to happen. It just has
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a
That would
big
be a
fan of
great
that.
week trip.
We're even starting to get a little bit of Vermilion talks going in the group chats here for a potential November trip. If anyone's got any insight on Lake Vermilion in November, hit the line. Be curious to hear what that's all about. But
Hmm.
seen some
Yeah.
videos. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember that one. I think it's like a Keys clip from back in the day. I think it was guided by Ben Olson, but it was like a
Is
caught
it
a
the
fish
Ramsell
in.
outing?
I'm not sure if it was during the Rams outing or not, but it's just a short clip on Keys of a November fish from there that I believe was like 57 by 26 or something like that.
Is it the guy
Decent.
that caught us solo and brought the boat over? Or are we
No,
that one
different
was
one.
pretty cool too.
That one is great. They're just the sheer relief in that guy's voice when that thing slips into the net. Just like couldn't believe it.
Yeah, those fish are so just albino white by then. They
Oh,
just
I know.
haven't seen the sun since like August or September.
Gus,
That was
what's that trek like from Eagle River?
What is it? 5? 6 hours? 5?
It's a
not
long
bad.
way.
Ain't bad.
How far is it from Duluth? Because I think it's 3 hours for me to Duluth. 2 hours from Duluth?
Yeah, for an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe.
Hour and a
Hmm.
half. Yeah, I swear it was no more than 5.5, I think. So it's not that bad at all,
Yeah.
actually.
I don't know. Something to think about with our upcoming trip here. Something I did want to talk to you about, and I'm sure if people have made it this far in this podcast, might be interested to know on the old August cool downs that we tend to get. I think there's kind of a
Mhm.
pretty typical rule of thumb out on that, where those first few cool downs in August, fish tend to start to push shallow. Especially some of those bigger fish, kind of re-enter some of that shallow cover, I should say. So, with that on the horizon here, what are you thinking about doing to target them? And do you think you'll be doing much open water stuff? And maybe if you're not finding them up shallow in the cover, what are you pivoting to?
Um, I Well, I mean, coming up here, I'll be fishing. I we didn't touch on it, but I'll be able to fish Green Bay 2 more times here this weekend. And then also, like Brian said, we're doing a trip with all of our friends, golfing and boozing and all that. But with just like the cold fronts coming up here shortly, it's hard to say for this early August because it's still I think the fish are following a little bit of a calendar date thing. I don't think it's quite where it could or should be for like a late August, early September, where like, you know, super, super ultra shallow, like really pops off where that really shines and going to inside weed edges. I don't think that's quite there because not long ago, and really even just this last week, we're getting them on the deepest weed edge, the deepest weeds, the greenest weeds you can find. Typical main lake points, mid lake rock, rock bars, mid lake weed bars, all of that classic midsummer stuff. And I think that's still gonna play a role into what's going forward in this last cold front. Which if you take this cold front and you put it on instead of like August 6th, then you put it on September 6th, it might be a whole different thing where you can burn blades and throw like shallow rubber and go super, super shallow. I mean, just this last league, it seemed to be actually a kind of a tough cold front. Tuesday night league was tough standings. We were still in Door County during Monday night league, but that was when there was rain and it seems like fish were super bitey that night, mainly on blades. And now that the cold front set in, I went out in Tuesday night league and was able to bag a nice one on a Navin dive and rise, and just a wooden silent dive and rise bait. And to be honest, that's actually been a kind of a sleeper tactic for us in August to use if it's tough. If you're not getting your typical, because August should just be like you look for wind and you're throwing big ass rubber, big blades, sometimes top water, and usually people don't even talk about jerk baits and glide baits and stuff like that. And I'm getting some reports from people doing pretty decent on glide baits. And I know that dive and rise will play a factor on some of the cold fronts. But of course, I mean, you cannot go wrong with blades and top water this month. Anytime it either rains or it's sunrise or sunset, there's somebody throwing top water in my boat for pretty much this month, September, and probably the first week of October, I would have to say, especially after seeing how good it was this late July, because topwater was not that consistent at all for us in June and early July. It seemed to be mainly blades and just an assortment of other jerk baits and rubber.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our trip. Brian, you ready for it? You ready to get back in the boat? I'm sure we'll talk more about it next week, but it's always good getting fired up for one. We haven't had a true muskie bender really since the opening weekend with the crew here, so should be good to get back out on the boat together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving night fishing a real run for its money. I mean, we've dabbled with it, but I'd like to get out into those wee hours of the night and get that spooky feeling of a giant showing up.
I think it'll be good. I mean, like we've talked about night fishing. I unfortunately this year I have actually had very little success night fishing. I've night fished actually a fair bit, but only with buddies here and there. Nothing like consistently back to back, dialing in a pattern. So I guess maybe that's been a part of it, but unfortunately I have not had great success yet. But I think we can turn that around if we get something going, especially since we have the whole weekend to go. And if we look at the weather, we're like, it's perfect daytime weather, we'll hammer it in the daytime. But if we get some stagnant weather, I mean, we're gonna have to somehow plan some naps midday to be able to go at night and hit it pretty hard.
Yeah, so we're a little bummed out that we're not doing the National Muskie Championship. It's such a great outing, and to all those that are fishing in it, we wish the best of luck. It was definitely a tough decision, but I think we get a little bit more limited time to fish now together, and I think the decision ultimately came down to just how we can spend more time in the boat and kind of fish the lakes in the hours that we were hoping to fish together. So that kind of made, I guess, the decision for us when we thought about it that way. So, yeah, unfortunately we won't be in that one, but I know it'll be a great weekend, and it's always cool to see where some of the fish are coming out of.
For sure. But I think that wraps it up for this weekend, or for this week, for the Muskies on Tap podcast. Unfortunately, like I said, no guests, but hopefully you enjoyed this one. Just chopping it up with the boys, talking about current conditions, a little discussion on big Canadian fish. I know we always like to just dabble in that discussion here and there. Eventually we'll get there. We definitely will, and hopefully it brings us good luck. 60 incher would be kind of cool. As
I
some
think
people
we
would say.
if you go back and listen to like episodes 1 through 3 of our pod, I'm sure we've said, we got to get a Canada trip on the books. And then here we are, over a year later, like we're gonna go eventually.
Yeah, right.
We will, just eventually.
We will.
I don't know.
Just eventually, exactly. But yeah, if you could give us a follow on Muskies on Tap on Instagram, that would be awesome. Post some content there weekly, and some stories and all that stuff. And also, if you could hit up my guide service page, which is Suggs Fishing on Instagram, or Suggs Fishing Guide Service on Facebook, or add me as a friend, Gus Manty, on Facebook. And you can find all the other guide info on my website, www.sugsfishing.com, which is SUGS fishing. And thank you everybody for tuning in to another week of Muskies on Tap here. And Brian, if you want to take it away now that we got you back. Everyone's been missing out on your outros.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you are still listening, shout out to our guest this week. Just kidding, we didn't have one. We just riffed it off for a little bit about giant muskies, about the national championship tournament coming up. Good luck to everybody fishing in that. Yeah, shout out to Kyle again for bringing these idiots out into the Bay of Green Bay. No luck this time, but next time they will kill them, I'm sure. And yeah, let's go have some time this weekend, Gus. Slamming some brews, minimal sleep, a lot of lashing on the course, and everybody be safe out there. Peace.
Peace.